Right, thank you everybody. It's now 5:30 here at the Friars Hall, Hexham Abbey, on Monday the 30th of July 2028. This is the Hexham Town Council full council meeting. I am the chairman, Councillor Derek Kennedy, and Mayor of Hexham. We have a very busy agenda. I am now going to move immediately to item number 8, which is to consider Hexham Town Council taking on the lead agency role for a prospective pump track. I'm delighted to say we have a presentation from Northumberland County Council. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, hello everyone, I'm Jake Priest from Northumberland County Council, and I work within the sports development team and lead on all things sport, physical activity and movement across the county.
Thank you. So just in a couple of seconds we're going to invite Jake, who's kindly come to this meeting, to do a presentation. We will be discussing pump track and the consideration that Hexham Town Council may or may not take on this lead role. I should make it clear that this is about the principle, and I'm just making that clear, it is about the principle of the Town Council taking on the pump track. We are not, and I will close any discussion down on this, talking about the location of it within Hexham. That's a debate for another day. So this is all about the principle. I'm just conscious we've got this discussion, and then we've got further presentation also, and there's quite a lot of time to get through. So I shall invite Jake to do the presentation now, please, and we'll then do some questions and we'll go into debate following.
No problem at all. I'm just going to set this video away in the background. This is of a local case study of Chopwell Track. So this is just going to be playing in the background. I think it does a little bit more than just showing one single picture of a pump track. It shows it in action, so I think just as I'm talking through things, it will give a really good insight as to what these facilities are actually all about. So as I said, I work for the sports development team at Northumberland County Council. I'm currently leading on wheeled action sports development for Northumberland County Council. That includes work relating to skateboarding, BMX, scootering and other forms of wheeled activity that fit into that. There's clearly a significant amount of interest about the possibility of a pump track for Hexham. Public responses included strong support from parents and young people and adult riders, as well as some reasonable questions around cost, location, noise, parking, all of those types of things as well. My purpose this evening is not to announce an agreed scheme or an agreed site, as mentioned earlier. It's to explain what a pump track is, the benefits one could offer Hexham, what a credible project would involve, and the decisions and partnerships that would be needed to take this forward. So what Northumberland County Council can provide is evidence, connections can help communities work through the development process. However, a project will require a lead organisation, a lead local organisation, and a suitable and deliverable site to take this forward. So what is a pump track? I think better than what I can read out is shown on the screen there. This is an example of one type of pump track. This is Chopwell. So fundamentally, a pump track is a tarmac circuit of rollers and banks ridden by bikes, scooters, skateboards, and various other wheeled crafts. And users generate speed by pumping rather than pedaling around the track, hence the name. A well-designed track can be used by bicycles, scooters, skateboards, balance bikes, even adaptive equipment in some cases. They're usually free to access in a community setting, suitable for all different ages and abilities, as I think this video has shown really well. And it's different to a BMX racetrack or a conventional skate park in the types of provision that it provides. So why could it benefit Hexham? It's not only a piece of cycling infrastructure. Done well, it can be an inclusive community recreation facility that supports physical activity, an informal social space to connect with friends and families, skill development, can be a positive use of public space. This track was actually used as part of the qualifiers for the World Championships across the UK, and was one of those sites that would filter into that higher level of competition. So there's real stretch from whether it be in somewhere that people go along and just ride their bikes, skateboards and such, to having a little bit more to it. And that comes down to design and the need of local areas. Chopwell was built in 2020. It's an excellent example of a successful community-led project. It was developed by the Friends of Chopwell Park, who secured, at the time, think back, this was in 2020, £140,000. This was through Sport England's Community Asset Fund. That's since closed, but as we had said, we're not here to discuss the finer details of where funding might come or where the pump track might go. It's something to bear in mind. And today, this track it's a thriving community asset, regularly used by children, adults, families, and hosts coaching sessions, competitions, and community events. And I think that itself demonstrates how a well-designed pump track can become much more than a sporting facility. So what are the key considerations that we need to think about this time? Following the decision that would be made here, you know, we need to look at what is a suitable site. The fundamental question is there a lead organisation that are keen to lead on the development and manage the facility moving forwards? What does a funding package look like? What does long-term maintenance look like and the costs of that? Manufacturers of these types of facilities do some really good kind of long-term maintenance packages that come with that, and you know, they're built to last, these facilities these days. Community engagement is key in anything moving forwards, as well as those technical surveys and planning. So I'd invite the council to have a think about the position that it's in, is it whether it would like to be the principal lead in this type of facility, and whether or not there is an appetite to move forward and look at a more detailed feasibility study for the project. Is there any questions?
Yeah, we'll do questions from now. So, so councillors, I'll invite you to anybody who would like to ask questions. I'll go first. I mean, just with regards to cost, what would be the cost of, say, the example of that one there, and where would the source of funding be?
Yeah, so the cost for pump tracks range from around £120,000 up to around £200,000, depending on the facility. Manufacturers of these pump tracks often design for the space suitable to it, so funding will vary. Funding is very dependent. You know, we haven't looked into the extent of where it might come from, but it's likely to be a funding package of varying sources. Unfortunately, the Community Asset Fund, of which Chopwell was funded through at Sport England, is no longer available. They do have funding in smaller scales, however, around capital investment, there is no such funding available through Sport England for these types of projects. But there's lots of options out there. But
would the County Council Section 106 be a possibility?
If there was funding available through that scheme and it was available, then that would be an option. However, I'm not aware of any funding for Section 106 in Hexham currently.
Kathy, are you with that?
Yeah, I don't think there's very much at the moment in Hexham.
No, thank you. Right, we'll bring questions. I think Steve wanted to go first.
A couple of things. The sewers money available for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
If we had a look at the scheme in Sele Park, which Hexham Youth Initiative, they've got a big chunk of money from sewers, so that might be attractive. And it's always a question of putting something in place and agreeing first, and then getting the backers later. So I think you're pushing an open door, certainly from this town council that wants to see something like this as an asset for Hexham itself. I'm slightly confused as why Northumberland County Council aren't doing this and you're coming to Hexham Town Council. I think you'll get support from other councillors as well across the board but there's just some concern that you've dodged it a little bit by not saying we're taking the lead on this, and will you follow us? Why is Northumberland County Council not taking a more direct route?
Yeah. Do you want to take this one, Kathy?
Kathy, do you want to go up front, please? So everybody, this is Kathy Keeley from Northumberland County Council. The sports coordinator, is it, Kathy?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm just sports development on that one. It's a really tricky one for Northumberland County Council. Everybody's aware that we are strapped for cash. Also, sport and leisure like this isn't within the County Council's remit. So there simply is not a budget for it. Also, we, as a local authority, have an asset-based community development ethos where we don't want the County Council to be developing and managing more facilities that are led and managed by the County Council. We believe that facilities should be provided for the community and led and managed by the community. We're a massive county and we need the local community to actually be in charge of their destiny and the facilities that they have. So one, we don't have capacity. Jake and I, the Sports Development Service, we cover the whole county. We're a team of 6 people. So one, there's not the infrastructure within the local authority. It's not our remit to actually develop facilities like this. However, Northumberland County Council is one of the few local authorities that still has a sports development department. We still have a stock of leisure centres. We're still investing heavily in leisure. But unfortunately, we just don't have the budget or the remit to take this on.
Okay. So I'll take Faye and then Annie.
Hi, yeah, can you tell me, are there any already planned or in existence in Northumberland?
Yeah, so the first one was recently built in Cramlington, so that is the latest one to have been built. That was led on and delivered by Cramlington Town Council. Been really well received since opening, so again, if you have the opportunity to go along and see how popular these tracks are in communities similar to Cramlington, I'd recommend going along to that.
But there's no others yet, none over here?
There is an international competition standard. It's not a pump track, but in Gallagher Park in Bedlington, it's a similar type of brief. However, it is a different style facility.
There's a few homemade ones as well. There's one at Hexham, isn't there? And
Yeah.
actually, probably young people at the back will be able to tell us of sort of like a few where young people have gone blading with us, and there is one at Hexham that's a dirt track, but not like this.
And there is also one in Alnwick as well.
Yes.
Yes. So when you're talking about the lead, or you want an organisation that's the lead, is it customarily the town councils, or in this case it was Friends of Chopwell Park? So could it be a group that is constituted specifically for this, or what sort of the criteria for a lead organisation as far as the county council is concerned?
Yeah, as far as the county council is concerned, it's around those constituted groups that can deliver and have a track record of being able to deliver and manage these types of assets. So while at Friends of Chopwell Park is an example like Gateshead have gone for, in Cramlington it's the town council there, and in Alnwick I believe it's Gallery Youth Project who operate that facility up there. I don't know if you've got anything to add.
Well, sometimes it depends on who the landowner is as well.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be a county council decision, sorry, that would be a funder's decision. So it wouldn't be for the county council to approve if you were, because the lead organisation would be part of the funding application as well. So it might be that the funders decide if you're a suitable organisation.
Right.
I mean, I think it looks great. I presume if you wanted to have one, we wanted to have one which was really good, like the Chopwell one, which was a good standard. But I'm just a little unclear about the phrase "taking the lead." What does taking the lead actually mean? I mean, what's the responsibility involved in taking the lead?
I would say it's similar to taking on a play park.
Okay.
But what Jake is able to provide you with is the kind of figures that would, the maintenance costs and the liabilities of the maintenance, but it's almost like taking on a play park, because you're not going to get an income stream from it.
But no funding from
No, unfortunately not.
Unless it's through grants.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Susan?
Well, my question was asked by Faith, Cramlington Town Council. I'm wondering where they got their funds from, but I presume we just need to approach them direct, or were you involved in steering the project with them at all? Or?
With Cramlington Town Council, there was some regeneration funding available that they went through.
Who was the regeneration funding? Oh, NCC?
Yes, so you should contact Rob Strett for details of that.
Okay.
What's the ongoing maintenance cost?
Again, varies from site to site. I wouldn't like to quote a figure. However, within many tender documents, the ongoing maintenance can be covered into it around the kind of 5-year plan around what needs to be done there. They are again built to last. The manufacturers like Velo Solutions would be able to give an indicative cost around a sinking fund and when tarmac would need to be replaced. However, again, yearly, I think it would be minimal, but can be built into the tender process for manufacturers.
Are you talking like 5,000 a year or 10,000?
I don't even think it would be that, to be honest. Yeah.
You could assume that they've got probably a 10-15 year life, I would have
Yeah,
thought,
I
before
think
they
that-
need the
yeah.
tarmac resurfacing.
Yeah.
Can we just say, we spoke about the solution.
Sorry. We've got it's a public, it's a council meeting now.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a public can't speak, so apologies about this.
Yeah.
Right, sorry, Mike.
I was just going to ask, we're not going to talk about the location of it, but would the, we've kind of got a long history of working with Northumbria County Council on various sites in Hexham. If we were to find the funding and we did find a site that was Northumbria County Council, would you be supportive in supporting us to acquire that site? Because we've had issues before, which I won't go into.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, the fact that Jake and I are here today is because we've identified wheeled action sports as a priority going forward. So Jake's written a strategy for the camp. You know, it's one of we don't do it for every sport and every activity. It's in our interest. That's part of our remit, is to help the communities to develop these sites.
Okay, and just one more question. It's slightly out of scope. Obviously, we might be lucky we get a pump track, but obviously you need equipment, bikes, etc. to run it, and so that equipment it needs to be maintained. And we've kind of like Hexham sort of struggled. The nearest kind of bike repair shop is miles out of Hexham, which means you need a car to take it there, or you need to kind of try and do it locally. Do you offer any assistance? Because if you don't have a bike and you need to get one or a second-hand one, and you need to maintain it, yeah, you kind of have to have a nice big fat car. So do you offer any assistance in terms of how to set up a sort of a bike? Effectively, it's some kind of bike maintenance shop.
So that's a really good project you could probably develop with the Hexham Foundation.
Yeah, and again, we can signpost to where that works really well in other places. So Full Circle Food Project have a cycle hub and a maintenance program out of their facility in Ashington, and we can signpost to organisations like that.
Okay, any further questions? Okay. Sorry, yeah.
So you mentioned that this is a pump track, and you kind of alluded to there was like BMX racetracks and things. Is there a reason why you've selected pump track as the kind of option?
Yeah, absolutely. Pump tracks are kind of considered as the most inclusive type of provision for these types of sports. As we had said, due to the nature of the tracks themselves and the surface, that they cater for a wide range of wheeled action sports, and including, if designed to be inclusive in that nature, kind of adaptive wheelchairs as well that have been used in there as well. That would need to come down to the design scope though, but in short answer, it's the most inclusive facility for this type of provision.
Right, so I've circulated a contract consideration. So I'll read out what this is. So it's just so we're absolutely clear, as I mentioned, we're not talking about the location in Hexham as yet, because obviously we need to get over the substantive decision whether the Hexham Town Council wishes to or not.
Sorry, I just thought I'd get out of the way while I was trying to be quiet.
So, you know, it's pointless talking about location without having the principle whether the Hexham Town Council wishes to become the lead agency on this. Just for background, there's been numerous meetings. I've been to a number of them. Suzanne Felix-Aiken has also, alongside Active Travel and various other organisations. Nigel Scorer has attended many and been very informative also. So there's been quite a lot of discussions in the background just to try and work out how this looks, what one is, and the fundamentals, etc. So, but we needed to get basically this first decision whether we decide to or not. So it's up to the council to decide that now. So I'm now going to put this forward. So the pump track consideration. So you have this in front of you all, but I'll read it out for the public. Hexham Town Council has been asked to be the lead agency for delivering a pump track facility to the town. It is proposed that Hexham Town Council accept the responsibility of becoming the lead agency on the following conditions. 1. We demonstrate community need and support. 2. Suitable site availability. A suitable site is available under Hexham Town Council ownership or long-term control. The location is accessible by walking, cycling, public transport and car where appropriate. The site is compatible with surrounding land uses. Appropriate space exists for supporting infrastructure, especially as a tourist facility. The proposal is likely to obtain planning consent. 3. There's partnership support. 4. Responsibility. A maintenance and management plan is in place for the lifetime of the facility. Revenue implications are affordable over the long term. The facility is expected to remain relevant and well used for many years, and arrangements exist for monitoring usage, outcomes and community benefits. So what's being presented here is to say, if the Hexham Town Council wants to take this on, this would be basically our conditions of use. So if we did enter in any contract or with the county council or with our agents or with our stakeholders, you know, we want to see those conditions actually taken into account, that it is a tourist attraction, that it is in an appropriate place, such as allowing public transport, that it is in a communal area, etc. And that it must be suitable for those conditions. Okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm proposing this as a motion, and I'll look for a seconder. So I have a seconder from Suzanne Felix-Aiken. We now go into debate. So does anybody wish to speak on the debate? I have Suzanne Felix-Aiken.
I'll just get mine out of the way for a second.
Okay.
I'm completely in agreement. We've been to meetings, we've had some good discussions, we've got some amazing people on board and in the room, like Nigel, the designer. I've also had the privilege of going to the Chopwell track, I think it was just during sort of the lockdown period anyway, and seeing what it was like there. It was immaculate, it was self-policing, people were responsible for it, it was clearly loved. Like I say, the bins were filled, the place around it was just, I mean, it was just well kept, you could see it was loved, and I think things like this do come with that kind of the pride and responsibility for keeping it exactly like that. I think the demand is there, as we've seen a couple of failed projects around Hexham to build their own pump tracks around town, and people are clearly desperate. They've even tried at some of the park at Hexham East. We had one at the West Point site, didn't we, for a bit, and then that was dismantled. And kids are clearly keen in various woodlands to continue that. The demand is very much there, I think, along with the skate park, and Hexham Youth have shown that, I think, even just coming here today. So I think, as you say, Stephen, it's an open door. If managed right for the right people in the room, it's a yes, yes, yes for me. So.
Okay. Stephen?
No, just add one thing. The one thing I learned from the skate park in Sele Park is the involvement of young people. It shouldn't come as one we've done somewhere else. And I think the involvement of Hexham Youth Initiative in particular is key. And it was their involvement that got the Suez money of £80,000. And it's something that other people might find more attractive, supporting Hexham Youth Initiative than necessarily Hexham Town Council. So the involvement of the young people and the design and the location of it is very important. We all accept that the devil's in the detail on this one, but as a principle, there should be no objections from anybody.
Yes, I agree actually. I think in a way it sort of adds to the jigsaw of what we're providing. So we've upgraded the park, you know, the facilities in terms of leisure in this town are extraordinary. But there is a gap and the location is absolutely key. So all other principles, but I just think that we have to fight hard for the right location.
Okay. Anybody else to speak? Same.
I think fantastic having a pump track in Hexham. I'm supportive of the town council taking on the lead agency role. I think I just raise a couple of words of caution. Obviously we're not talking about the location here today. There might be an issue further down the line where the town council identifies a plot of land which is owned by the county council and the county council might not want to hand that over, and that's perfectly within their rights to do it. And I know in the past there's been issues with the relationship between the county council and the town council. I don't think either side have shout themselves in any glory on that. And I think it's important that we take this forward, we go forward in good faith, that we might not be able to get the funding and we might not be able to get the location, and that's not anyone's fault. I don't think we should go into this to set up any of the individual partners to fail, because the relationship with the county council is the most important thing for this town, between the town council and the county council. And Hexham is the same, this could be the final piece of the jigsaw for the town. The town also has lots of problems. The town centre has lots of problems in terms of the kind of the types of shops that we've got, some of the kind of the way some of the street signage has been done. And I would say it's really important that the town council doesn't lose sight of that. And actually any issues that cause friction with the county council and stops them from doing their job around the maintenance of the actual town council, I think would be a big shame for the town.
Anybody else to speak? Okay, so as the mover of the motion, I have final comment before we go to the vote. So I'd hardly class as the final piece in the jigsaw. I think we just want to make this jigsaw as big as possible. So this would be another huge piece in the jigsaw, but the jigsaw is forever growing. I think from what we've seen with the new play park, which has been a huge success, and congratulations to us all on that one, and particularly Roger Higgins and Tom Charlotte who led on this, and you know, alongside stakeholders, because we've always brought stakeholders in when we've done major projects, is that play, sport, activity for our youth is really, really important to this council. You know, we've seen things, you know, you've seen about, you know, like people getting obese and people getting stuck in their bedrooms with iPads, and you can see the government starting to like trying to do stuff with, you know, with about having your iPhones in schools now, because they're wanting people to be a bit more active and not fixated with phones. I see that as all part of our much broader strategy of making this, you know, a fun place to live, an active place to live, and people have really, really healthy lifestyles here. So this to me ticks all those boxes. I'm pleased to say that Active Travel, I've just been speaking to Active Travel just prior to this meeting, and they've said they'd be more than willing to help with the fundraising, any fundraising for that. So we welcome them as part of that stakeholder group, and I'm sure others will as well. In the sort of background meetings we have had Hexham Youth Initiative in attendance, we've had Active Travel and various others, and they've all been playing, you know, really exploratory conversations on where we need to go next, and it was resolved that actually what we need to do now is to say, will the Hexham Town Council be the leading agency or not? And this is where we come to this in the Town Council. Obviously we make this decision, and that decision, whether it's a yes or a no, decide our pathway, and if it's a yes, we will start a conversation next on appropriate locations, sources of funds, quality, size, etc. So I'm delighted to bring this motion. There's been a lot of work done in the background, and my thanks go to Nigel Scorer in particular, who has put a huge amount of work into this and been very, very informative. Even when I bumped into him in Wales this morning, he was straight on top of me. So a really big thanks to Nigel. There's a lot of hard work gone into this already, just a lot of thinking time. So I think the eyes of Hexham are on us, especially the young eyes of Hexham are on us today. So you have that proposal. We now go to the vote. So those in favour of Hexham Town Council becoming the lead agency in this, with those constraints there. Those in favour, can I have a vote, please? And that is unanimous. So thank you, everybody. Well done. It's very rare we get applause in here, but there we go. We take them when they come. So there we go. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so we're now going to move to number 7, which is to receive a Hexham tourism marketing proposal from our Hexham business group. So we'll let them give that
Yeah, I wanted to.
Right. Evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to present tonight. To begin with, apologies from Heather from Northumberland Design. She's been integral in creating, curating and communicating this whole vision. Prior engagements, so she can't be here tonight. I'm trying to not print as much paper off, which is why you've only got like 3 sheets there. And I've got some notes to keep me on track. So first of all, what we'd like to share tonight, it's not simply a proposal for a new website or a new marketing campaign. It's a vision for how we'd like Hexham to present itself to the world. We wanted to have a unified vision through businesses, residents and town council and other organisations. Over the past few months, we've spoken with a lot of businesses, got a lot of feedback, spoken to residents, community groups, tried to take everything on board, and what we believe is Discover Hexham is a platform that can lead us all forward with a unified vision. We're not expecting to answer too many questions tonight. We'll try and preempt as many as possible. What we'd like to do is start off the presentation with Amy, who's the chair of the Hexham Business Group, Austin and myself, and take questions at the end if that's all right.
Very good.
Yes, so this is our proposal for Discover Hexham. Hexham is one of those rare places that's full of genuine heart and soul. It's a town shaped by history, surrounded by extraordinary landscapes, and brought to life by the people, businesses and communities that call it home. From its independent shops and markets to its cultural events and rich heritage, Hexham has a character all of its own. For those who live here, it inspires pride and belonging, and for those who visit, it creates lasting memories and a desire to return. For local businesses, it provides the foundations to grow and thrive.
So yes, so the challenge. So without a coordinated, sustainable way to promote Hexham, opportunities are being missed. Visitors lack a clear gateway to the town, residents are less aware of what's happening in the community, and local businesses are losing valuable visibility and footfall. I'll reword this. The change of funding from the council has brought a bit of a challenge into a shorter focus. It's created an opportunity to establish a new joined-up approach that delivers a lasting benefit for tourism, community pride and the local economy. Our aims, hopefully as a town, to encourage regenerative tourism. It's not enough, we don't think, for people to visit, tick a box and never come back. So we'd like to help visitors discover more of what Hexham has to offer, encourage them to stay longer and return all year round. We'd like to provide a platform to build community pride. We all know there's plenty of community pride. We all love where we live. So to build pride and a connection of community by celebrating local stories, events and achievements. And then grow a thriving local economy. Provide businesses with a shared platform that increases visibility, footfall and local spending. Back to Amy, she's the designer.
The idea is that we're creating one cohesive brand, so to speak, that promotes the town as a whole, rather than the disparate sort of elements that haven't been quite tied together yet. So the idea with Discover Hexham is that it's a whole cohesive strategy, rather than, as Gary said, not just a website, it's a whole cohesive strategy. So this strategy would include creating a really awesome brand. So, you know, it being a brand that becomes really recognisable, and then that brand is laid out across the various touch points, which obviously, you know, a big one being the new and improved website. We're also proposing as well a quarterly town magazine and ongoing digital promotions. So the brand in general, obviously the Discover Hexham brand would celebrate the town's unique personality and give it a really distinctive feel, which will hopefully unite visitors, residents and businesses alike. We want to create a consistent look and feel across every touch point, so everything is very clearly coming from one voice, and that voice is combined of, you know, locals and tourists alike. So yeah, it's the idea that Discover Hexham will be a brand that wins hearts, inspires connection and encourages people to discover, experience and return to Hexham time and time again. The website would obviously be the sort of the main focal point that everything points towards. So it's a single trusted destination for discovering everything that makes the town special. So it's for both visitors and residents, and I think that's the really important point. It's not just tourists coming in, it's about the people who live here as well. I think the two need to really unite. So therefore it's more than a traditional what's on guide. It'll also showcase the character and personality of the town through its people, places, stories and experiences. So it'll include things like events and activities, but also independent businesses, walking routes, local attractions and ideas for days out. The website will make it easier for visitors and residents alike to discover everything Hexham has to offer. So the main basis of the website will obviously be, you know, a touch point which includes a lot of different sections. What's on, food and drink, shopping, a community notice board, accommodation listings, a plan your visit section, trails, a blog that will be updated pretty regularly, a newsletter sign up form, and then also a founding supporters page. We're also proposing as well that instead of just having the website, we keep something really fresh and sort of very seasonal coming out. So we're talking about having a quarterly magazine. It will be free to everybody to pick up. And it's the idea that it focuses very much on telling the personality of Hexham and showcasing it as a quarterly magazine. So it would come out 4 times a year, and it would celebrate people, places and stories that make our town special. It would be much more than just a guide. It would celebrate the character, creativity and community of the town through beautifully curated stories, local recommendations and inspiring ideas. From the people who make Hexham special to the places waiting to be discovered, it will bring the town's personality to life and create a lasting connection between residents and visitors alike. And then obviously to keep things really relevant on a day-to-day basis, we would obviously need a consistent digital presence. So obviously mainly done through social media and email marketing. It'll be a carefully planned approach. We continue to share stories, showcase local businesses, highlight events, and inspire people to explore the town. So it would need to be a consistent but considered approach to create an engaged community which keeps Discover Hexham at the forefront of everybody's minds. So when someone says, oh, what's going on in Hexham, they know where to go. It's a central focal point for visitors, residents and businesses all joined together.
So our approach is that we'll be accessible and inclusive to all, working collaboratively with local businesses, community groups, tourism partners and residents, ensuring Hexham is represented in its entirety, not just the most visible organisations. We want to create accessible opportunities for local groups and smaller businesses to participate as well. We will have clear standards in decision making, transparent criteria for featured content, partnerships and promotion, clear separation between editorial content and paid opportunities, and regular reviews to ensure the platform continues to meet the needs of the town. The long-term plan obviously is to become self-sustaining. We'll use a mix of partnerships, sponsorship, advertising and collaborative projects to ensure its continued growth and independence. We want to help businesses succeed. There'll be greater visibility for local businesses. Providing businesses with a shared platform to increase their visibility, promote their offer and reach new audiences. Free listings, editorial features and event promotion will help ensure that the breadth and diversity of Hexham's business community is represented. Inclusive access to promotion, ensuring businesses of all sizes can participate and benefit, with accessible opportunities to smaller and new businesses to gain visibility, tell their story and connect with customers in ways that they may not otherwise be able to afford. Increased footfall and local spend. A stronger, more consistent identity will make Hexham easier to promote and remember, while coordinated campaigns, sponsorship opportunities and the ability to measure visitor engagement will help turn awareness into increased footfall and local spending. Governance and delivery. There will be strategic oversight by a stakeholder group. Professional delivery will be delivered by Northumberland Design, supported by the Hexham Business Group, standing around 90 members, I believe. Open to businesses, community groups and partners, and there'll be a 6 and 12-month review and reporting. The financials, I guess we're moving into the strategic plan, is to, in year 1, establish a firm foundation, the design and build of the platform with seed funding. Year 2, developing and establishing the platform with mixed income. Year 3, continuing on in the same, and eventually year 4, maintaining, developing and establishing the platform, becoming more self-sustaining. Some of the costings here, that's small to read from here, this one, as it possibly is on the sheet as well, but we'll be sending this out to everyone of course as well. The branding there is between 2,500 to 3,000, brand positioning, visual identity development, logo, identity system, colour, typography, visual direction, brand guidelines and application examples, website between 14 and 21,000, website based on visit from structure, website strategy, UK and design, UX or in design, development and build. The magazine, that's 1,200 to 3,000, and the concept and design system based on 12 pages, tabloid or 24 pages, the mini zine. It contains the editorial concept and creative direction, magazine format, structure and content planning, layout design and page templates, feature layouts and article styling, guidance on photography, imagery and storytelling approach, and then the digital promo, 1,200 to 3,000, will consist of digital communication strategy and content approach, newsletter design and build, social media strategy and channel planning, bespoke social media templates for key platforms, content pillars and ongoing themes, social platform branding and setup. And then you have sort of monthly outgoings as well, which is the website hosting, domain, plugins, email hosting, monthly updates, 2 blogs, features, amends and adjustments, maintenance, 500 to 900 a month, a magazine, which is a sort of separate thing, the quarterly issue, design and layout, 1800 to 3000. We've got the costings there underneath on the 12-page and 24-page issues that we could do. And then the digital promo, 400 to 1500. Ongoing costs there include specification, could include monthly or bi-monthly e-newsletter, social posts, for 2 channels and 2 blogs. On that one. Our mission overall, Discover Hexham, is here to help people discover, experience and enjoy everything that makes Hexham special, so our town can thrive for generations to come.
Yeah, and in short, we're just here to help more people fall in love with Hexham, really.
And obviously for all of us to create a thriving Hexham that people are proud to call home, which we already are, but to communicate that to everyone else. Yeah, eager to visit and inspire, to champion. Together, let's create a vibrant future for Hexham.
Right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we'll go to questions. So, questions, anyone stay with us?
I'm a little bit confused.
Yes.
Hexham Community Partnership was not a great success. From what you're saying in your presentation, this is almost like a business-led response to the vacuum that's created. The 3 questions I struggled with Hexham Community Partnership that you might be in a better position to answer was who are you? You know, that's really important. Are you just a group of people who've come together, or how are you constituted? Is there a bank account? Is there some governance around you? Who elects you? You know, all these things with any new organisation is difficult. Now, if we're saying collectively that Hexham Community Partnership was not a success, what makes you a success as compared to Hexham Community Partnership?
So the business group has formed almost as a response to the partnership closing. We've currently got 90 plus members. It is a constituted group. We have a public constitution that everyone agrees to. We have our governance, and we will be having constant meetings and voting in committee members. That's for the business group itself. What we're proposing for Discover Hexham is an initiative started out by business group, but stakeholders from all elements of the town. We love to have stakeholders from the town council, local attractions, the Abbey, the Forum, the Queen's Hall. So this should be delivered by everyone. But yes, we have responded to the partnership closing by getting together, basically.
I think your branding name is very good, to be honest. That's a real good start.
I mean, I keep saying this all on a personal level. I've never liked Visit. Nothing to do with Visit Hexham.
Yeah.
I think it is for visitors, Visit, and I think Discover works for Hexham as a town. There are still people who live in Hexham who don't know everything that's going on, and what we'd like to see is it be the go-to place. We'll often see various online forums, people asking what's happening. It would be nice to have an oracle, which is what we envisage Discover being.
Yes, I'm quite interested in this whole idea about it belonging to the town, because I think it has to. I think this was one of the big issues about Visit Hexham, because it didn't actually reflect the town. It was always very outward facing in terms of visitors. So there's that aspect to that. But I personally think that one of the ways that you get buy-in from the town is to get buy-in from the town. So your ask is for 30k. And so this is just a thought. It doesn't have to be around the 30k, because you might argue that you need that in order to set something up that people can buy into. But basically, if you do multipliers, then the community centre, for example, could pay £30 a year so that make this thing work, and that's the point, rather than being top down. So like there's funding of an organisation which people are sort of invited to contribute to. The fact that if people are involved in it at every single level, which includes, it could be quite modest, but if you like, you know, say to every business, okay, can you give us £20 a year or something, and do multipliers of that. So I think that also gives you a degree of sustainability.
It does, yes. Sustainability is one of the big things that we've been looking at going forward, and it's a type of is this an advertising platform, and therefore if you have more money, are you seen by more people? And what we like, particularly for the online side, is actually it's a fair platform. It is the communities, which is why we're going for not advertising but support as partners. Happy to take partnerships from any organisation, and an example we discussed, just a little example, is Egger, for example. They won't buy a big advert, but we have an editorial from a new business that is actually facilitated by a partnership with Egger, and that's a small example. But yes, you're right, yes, we're viewing as many avenues as possible to make it self-sustaining.
Yeah, okay.
Just a similar question. We're talking about mixed income from year 2 and 3. Just what you see the sources of income is. And then also the costs themselves. I know, just for my last one, I know the cost of building a website, that is kind of realistic. But where do you see, obviously keeping it updated, providing all the content will take time and money, like where do you see how that can be provided in a
So yes, so again, back to partnerships and sponsorships.
Yeah.
We'll have Northumberland Design taking the lead, and looking at the monthly cost for Northumberland Design to carry that out once seed funding has started out is fairly minimal. But yes, it needs to be self-sustaining. We're looking at commercial opportunities as far down as merch, for example, but partnerships and sponsorships we hope to be the main thing. The magazine itself, the quarterly magazine, we see that being the commercial engine for the website, to allow this beautiful looking editorial-led website without adverts popping up everywhere. We have to give somewhere, and the magazine will be it.
And that'll be everything from the print costs. We feel like kind of there are some main events hosting, so like kind of establishments here within the town who would probably contribute to that and have a regular kind of sort of like kind of page and listings for their venue within that. But other people who are, you know, community-based people would be Egger, Gary, what's one where your wife worked at, before she's just moved?
The estate agents, the building society. There's a lot of community funds from private organisations.
People would do like a crossword or anything like that. They could sponsor like kind of various different things within like kind of publication. Keeps it interesting, as well as like kind of the or word search or whatever, you know, different things, as well as like the editorial and everything else as well. Yeah.
Because that's the thing, that the sort of the obvious route to go down with a lot of these publications and websites is advertising, but from a design point of view, it just ends up looking just like some horrible sort of glossy, in-your-face thing. Whereas I think what's really important from a design side of things is for this, we want it to feel like a really beautiful, especially, you know, the website will obviously be a reflection of that, but especially the quarterly magazine, it'll be something you want to pick up, you want to keep. It's beautifully designed, it's lovely printed, it tells stories rather than it just being one of those freebies that you get that's just full of basically adverts and you get a couple of pages of, you know, text in between. So it's very much a focus of it being a beautiful thing that celebrates the town, and that we don't feel that's done through advertising, we feel that that's done through sponsorships and partnerships more.
It sounds very positive, sounds great, but I just wonder where the time is going to come from for maintaining the website, for doing the newsletter quarterly. It's a lot of time commitment running, you know, from a friend who used to run one. It takes a lot of time to bring it all together. I wonder where that's going to kind of come from.
Well, I mean, we're going to be a mix of community-led, so a lot of it will come from various community people.
I meant putting it together. How's that going to be done? You know?
The business group itself, the committee will take a lead on it. We have 90 businesses who can all give a bit of time. Northumberland Design will be facilitating most of that.
Yes, they'll be in charge of updating the website and putting together the layouts and sort of, placing in all the editorial content and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Northumberland Design will be a big sort of part of that.
And we're using a lot more automated systems as well that actually reduce a lot of that work.
On the events-based side of things, people will submit their events and the end of those, so that's just on and then it goes off when it's done with and things like that.
The whole thing will be a lot more streamlined than previous versions.
I mean, it's very exciting. Again, I love the name, I love the branding and enthusiasm, and you've got clearly a eye for design. I love the magazine because I think a lot of it is, we do rely quite heavily on social media and online content, and I think we've struggled ourselves to put together a magazine in the last year. We know what commitment that is actually, so to be able to do that would be fantastic for the town, to actually have a hard copy that all residents can see. I think is brilliant. So the 29,000 is a sort of seeded a startup fund, and the reviews would come directly to partners like us if we took that option up every 6 months and 12 months. Have you got any other partners on board is my first question, and they're actually on board now, and also I know that part of the problem with Visit Hexham is that quite a lot of the links online were not monetised. Is that a source of revenue as well? I know you were looking at it, but I don't know how profitable that is compared to the revenues you've been talking about so far. Is it doable?
On that website part, to create a website that you can monetize costs a lot more than to create a website that you don't monetize. So it's a kind of, everyone makes money, but no one, the plugins and things that you need to be able to, the security settings, to be able to have a money-making website as such, it costs a lot more to make that website.
Right.
Which is why we see the magazine as being the commercial engine. So, does that answer that question?
Yes.
And so far on the other side, the magazine side, I think we've had tentative conversation, but people seem to be willing to participate and part fund the printing costs. The Forum and the Queen's Hall, I think, are keen to, obviously with the listings and things like that, they would be somebody who would be keen on that. So.
Excellent. I know what a time it is to kind of constantly update comms and keeping on top of it and everything. And clearly that is a vacuum that now exists in Hexham, so well done for stepping forward.
Same.
Another question for Andrew. What's the current financial position of the town council? Just reading through the accounts. And, do we have the budget for it? Is it in the budget? I know we've got a community fund.
Well, I'll answer that. So any application would have to go through the Finance and General Purposes Committee. So that we are not being presented with an application for monies this evening. That would have to go through our proper governance and Finance and General Purposes meeting with a full and costed thing. But Andrew, was any?
But in general, yes, we do have something in that kind of order. If we wish to put, if you wish to invest in that, then yes, there is money.
And also, we if somebody requested the sum of money, doesn't necessarily mean we will get the totality of it. We could offer a contribution as well. Right, I'm conscious of time, so
I'm just feeling into Simon. I'm just wondering. We did have a tourism fund, and I think did that disappear because we didn't have a sort of tourism strategy as such to kind of hang it on.
We've still got a tourism budget in scene.
Yes.
It's mainly for, I mean, it could be used for this kind of thing, but it's mainly used for events. We have got an underspend in other areas of the budget that could be used for this. It's entirely at the council's discretion.
And do we still have the money ring-fenced from the community partnership for use at all?
The money is still in that. The money is still in that budget. There will be other calls
on it.
On that money's going forward.
But it's still there.
It's still okay.
Stephen.
Particularly in the town councils, like cheerleaders, you know, we want you to succeed. As you presented today, I don't think your plan is robust enough for us to give you £29,500 and revisit it in 6 months. So I can speak for myself, and I know it might be a sentiment shared by others. For us to approve it, it needs to be more solid. We've had failures with Hexham Community Partnership, who promised a great deal and didn't deliver. So if you were presenting it again, I would suggest that you put some more flesh on it and more data associated and more outputs on it, so it's easier for us to understand what we're getting for our money.
That 6 months is kind of like a minimum, really, isn't it? We're hoping that could last like into the first 12 months, obviously, from the costings that will be put in, and we will start in the first year to look at like the other opportunities, and we're hoping to get the magazine sort of launched sooner rather than later as well, so that starts to bring in the income, which then helps the sustainability.
And I think the really important thing as well is that I think it's going to be very well monitored, let's just say. So traffic to the website, number of visitors, how many people are using it, you know, how many people are picking up the magazine. It's going to be very monitored in terms of, because obviously as a business group as well, we don't want us to sort of put all our, you know, free time and effort into this thing and it just not do anything. We're going to be very clear on like monitoring engagement, getting feedback, you know, so it becomes a really successful initiative, which I get the impression from Hexham Community Partnership that wasn't there as much, but we're going to be really clear with like the success and sort of the metrics moving forward.
I'd like to know some of your expectations, what your key performance indicators are, what is your 6 month target, what is your 12 month target. If you came back to us after 6 months and wanted more money, you'd find it extremely difficult having the experiences that we've had before. You're sensible and good business people, that's why you're here speaking to us now. I'd just be mindful of that when you're presenting to the F&G.
Right, Tom, last one, and then I'll say something then.
Yeah, I think I'd just echo what Stephen said. I'll be positive and say it's great to have you here and to hear like the initial kind of proposal, the first step. But yeah, I'd be keen to see that extra level of detail and those KPIs and how you can measure, you know, visits to website and how that translates into money into businesses. I'd be interested to know how that's going to be.
I think we could probably hold on to that very quickly anyway. It's all been discussed.
Right.
It's omitted from the presentation.
Excellent.
Yeah. Right, so I'll speak now and then we'll move on. Well, first of all, thank you for that. That's really interesting as to, you know, the proposal. As I say, I think for the council really this was to give us an initial view of what has actually been going on for a number of months with regards to introducing Discover Hexham. So it's been a good insight at this point, but obviously the application needs to go through our formal processes, through the financial and general purposes, which is a proper business case, and all the things that have been requested would have to feature in there. You know, it's got to know what your objectives, what your risks, what, you know, where's your other sources of funding. I do take the point there is Councillor Grennan said, is that, you know, others invested in that doesn't mean money necessarily, but it could do, but it's just time and everything else. Who's investing in this? If there's 90 businesses all chucking in, you know, and if everybody put a couple of quid in each, you know, all of a sudden, you know, that's a decent contribution in there, you know, so we can see that it's not just like, I think that was our disappointment with what's gone before, is that it was like us giving a massive chunk of money and then not very much else going on. Is that we wanted to be a contribution to a wider body that everybody's like buying into this. So I think what we also have to recognise is that the pressure on the high street is huge nationally. You know, we've all seen it. We've all been to towns where you go like, right, look at the state of this high street compared to Hexham's. Hexham High Street is fairly healthy. Could be better, but could be a lot worse. You know, but we can't rest on our laurels. We need our high street to keep prospering. It can't stand still. It gets to keep moving, and we're being very, very fortunate. And I think Town Council's helped as part of this, but I think everybody else has, in that, you know, we're seeing lots of brand new independent local businesses all set up, and that is what we want to see within Hexham. So this being another vehicle of actually helping, you know, to fund and keep those that are currently open continuing in a sustainable fashion, but also, you know, the introduction of new businesses as well. So, you know, that's where we want to see. So, thank you for that. I think we'll give you a round of applause. And we'll see when it comes to the crunch and financial and general purpose. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, so public participation. Number 2, public participation. Is there any questions from
anyone? I'll come over here to say your excellent to say
Thank you. Yes.
I'm Wendy Breach and I'm an Hexham resident. And my question tonight relates to Hostile Bank. Following a grant article last week suggesting that there is light at the end of the tunnel, but that light seems to be reopening Hostile Bank to traffic. So Councillor Cesspit was quoted that reopening the bank to traffic would ease traffic on some of the other roads that have had to bear the brunt. I suspect that most of you town councillors are not in favour of increasing the traffic domination that we have right in the centre of our historic town. Certainly residents and businesses on Hostile Bank would rather have Hostile Bank open for walking, possibly cycling only. The businesses are absolutely desperate to have the level footway open again. That's what's caused their lack of footfall. It's difficult to get down the bank, go up those steps and then go to the shops. So they're desperate to have the level footway open again, but not the traffic, along with the problem of HGVs continually flouting the length restrictions. We've got hundreds of photographs to show HGVs going down Hostile Bank. And of course that raises the safety of, raises concerns about safety of shoppers as well. And there seems to have been general agreement, certainly when we met with NCC Highways and Joe Morris and various residents last year, that there hasn't been, with Hostile Bank closed to motor vehicles, there has not been any significant detrimental impact to traffic flow. Hexham hasn't ground to a halt because Hostile Bank was closed to traffic. So, I've been consulting a transport planner, and he is wondering, is the town council willing to press NCC Highways as a first step, and while Hostile Bank is still closed to traffic, to do traffic surveys around the wider town centre so that we can have some evidence about where traffic has gone while Hostile Bank has been closed to traffic. It seems to us that it would be a really retrograde step to open the bank to traffic again and have 2,500 plus vehicles per day, again using Hostile Bank, and again allowing traffic to be prioritised over shoppers. So we're asking for your help in pushing NCC Highways. The highways person that we met with, I think it was last November, has since retired from McCartney. And we didn't ever hear anything back about the possibility of a camera at the top finding HGVs going down. Nothing has been resolved at all. And suddenly the Courant is talking about opening the bank to traffic would be.
So, Wendy, can I just for clarification, you mentioned, you know, you were talking about on yourself, but then you mentioned the us and the we. Who is the us and the we?
The us and the we is residents of Hostile Bank.
So you're speaking on behalf of, are you speaking on behalf of them?
I said I would come and ask a question tonight, and they agreed that that would be a good idea.
Right.
Civic society, residents, businesses.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make it clear, just to settle us and the we. Okay, anybody want to?
Yes, if I'd like to say something about that. I think this is definitely something that needs exploring. I know that the residents have been delighted by the fact that there aren't lorries going down there all the time. But I think that we have I don't know who we are either, actually, but in terms of the principle of your question, have got to be quite careful about the information that we find out and the information that we present, so that it has some purchase in the argument. So we don't want to all be standing around counting trucks when that's not what is required. But I don't know if we have time to do that either. So there's sort of, I agree in principle, I do agree in principle. I think it's a complicated question about the traffic flows through the marketplace. There's a big question that needs considering. But I do think that the residents are the best placed people, actually, to be the advocates for their own position. But I don't know how we manage that. I don't know how that happens in a way that will be accepted by highways. So that's it's not saying no, I'm not saying yes. I'm just raising something that, having had dealings with highways, as everybody has, it's not straightforward. And we want to make sure that whatever case is being made by whoever makes it, that it's a robust case. I think that's what it's an observation.
Okay, sorry, Kate.
It's all right. Just to say, Wendy, it's already on the FGP agenda for next meeting.
Good. Specifically to ask them to survey traffic
Well,
survey
it's
to
a
be
debate
as a
with
first step.
councillors,
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Right. Good.
Specifically, we'll start back.
I can get you some very specific information if you wanted to back up any argument.
Okay.
I'll have Peter Thompson do that, who's a transport planner and who lives on All Star Bank.
Oh,
Excellent.
Perfect. Yeah, is that all right, Andrew? Thank you, that would be great.
Very good, thank you. Any further questions? No? Right, 3 apologies for absence.
Apologies from David and John.
David and John. Disclosure of interest. Anybody? No. Dispensations. No. Right, so number 6 is minutes of the last meeting. You got that? Right, so page 1 and page 2, permission to sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, number 9 is to agree the countenance of Grow Hexham as a core town council project with a permanent member of staff. So I'm going to introduce Penny Grennan, who's going to make the case.
Right, thank you very much. So this matter came to last month's full-time council meeting, and it was decided that a report should be written. So you've all received the report. I trust you've all read it. Making the case for making the current coordinator, who is employed on a self-employed, well not employed, who's contracted on a self-employed basis, a permanent part-time member of staff. So I think that the arguments are pretty compelling. What I'd like to start with is the flow diagram. This project that has cost the town council up until last month no money at all, because it's been completely externally funded, which is some achievement. It's been running for 5 years. Has got 40 beneficiaries or partners or contributors, people who play an active part in this project. So for a project that's not cost us anything so far, this is a huge project, and it reaches throughout the town and further. If you have a look, it says and beyond. It talks about Germany, London, Camden, and Bex has just been to Amsterdam. So there's a movement going on, and we're actually part of it. And so I think that in terms of value for money, it is financially an incredibly cheap project to run. There's an undertaking that if we make Bex permanent part-time member of staff, fundraising will still continue because we find projects. We've just got £2,500 for fruit bushes. That process will happen. But this project is at a critical point, and I've worked in community development for over 30 years. And projects like this start off on a shoestring, there's massive buy-in, and there always comes a critical moment when it needs to be consolidated and it needs to be secured, because we cannot spend all our time chasing the money, because there's fashions in where funding comes from, funding sources dry up, and it basically becomes an issue of sustainability. And we're at that point now. I think we've had 5 years without Hexham Town Council funding, and it's time that we took proper ownership of the project. It also maps, if you read the report, it maps onto the Town Council policies in terms of climate, in terms of community engagement, in terms of reaching from actually cradle to the grave, except nobody has died in the community garden yet. So, the range of people, the demographic of people who are involved in this process is absolutely huge. And as you can see from the flow chart, the tendrils of this project reach into every corner of Hexham. So this is being built from the bottom up, if you will, or from the ground up, if I might be so witty. And I think that in terms of the costs which have been identified in here, they're incredibly low. The returns are incredibly high, and the cost of it is incredibly low, considering its reach. So what I'm asking is for the Town Council's commitment to a project, the only project that the council runs, which actually complies with all its policies that it's passed, and that has huge benefits, at all sorts of different levels. So in partnerships with the library, so people are learning to read. There's also, the report, I have to say, was edited, because the history of the project, I could talk for hours about it, because it has so many events have happened, so many activities happen on a daily basis. It's geographically spread to areas of deprivation into the west. The whole town is embraced by this project. But we failed to get a rather large grant that we put in application, and I think that was the first one that we didn't get. And this is a really important moment for this project. So I'm asking for £15,000 to make Bex a permanent part-time member of staff.
Okay, so I think Stephen, you...
Yeah.
No, sorry, I finished. I wanted to pass on to Fane, because I haven't finished the presentation.
No, you're the proposer, so...
Oh, okay.
So do we have a second? So we have a seconder.
Yes, but Faye, as chair of the finance committee, was going to drill down to some figures.
Okay. So there's a second.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Yeah, I'd just obviously like to say I fully support this, and for me, the primary, if you could take one thing, I think, from this whole report, is reaching people that, as a town council, we always want to try and reach. And that's, we are reaching people, those hard to reach people that we struggle to in other ways. So Andrew and I have been through the figures, and I know that there were some questions asked last time specifically about salaries and on costs and things, so we have broken those down. There is some slight unpredictability in that there's a pay award pending. So what I've done, or pending, sorry, I've taken the middle figure for that, so that I'm not giving you all three. So if there was to be a 5% pay award, the salary would be around about £12,000. The national insurance contribution on that is just over £1,000. The pension contribution is £1,796. So that would be, including on costs, the entire cost actually comes in slightly under £15,000 at £14,823. And I think for what Penny has outlined that we'd get for that, it's absolutely phenomenal. And lastly, the question I want to throw really to you is, if we don't do this, what happens? Are we going to be the people that sit back and let this all collapse? And I just don't think that we can do that. It's absolutely fantastic project, and we, for the sake of less than £15,000 a year, we need to make sure that that continues.
A couple of things. I'd split this in two. There's a big question for me about governance, about the town council taking on another employer, and that's a huge thing for me. And there's another thing that's saying, is this project worth £15,000 a year? I agree with you. I think it is worth £15,000. So I'm not picking bones about the merits of the actual work done by Grow Hexham. It's the governance that really concerns me. I don't think we should be taking on more employees. We could be blindsided by a number of things. There's an increase in national insurance that nobody expected 2 years ago. I'd rather give £15,000 to the project for a penny grand to run it, rather than 13 potential members, a potential Trevor Sesford or a Steve Ball having an influence over it. I'd rather you run it directly because you've got that expertise than somebody like me. So I'm very supportive of putting 15 grand in. I would prefer if it went to you. You've highlighted, in fact, argued my case a little bit. For 5 years, you've actually secured funding for this. And I think you've got more chance, when we spoke about Hexham Community Partnership and others, you've got more chance of attracting external funding if we're seen to fund you, rather than the council having an employee that you're taking control of. I think you've got more chance of getting external funding. And when we talked about Hexham Community Partnership, we're against employing people to deliver things for us. Directly, we wanted somebody to come along and say, well, I'll do that for X amount, and that's exactly the challenge that you've accepted before and will accept again. But the principle of who can run Grow Hexham better, you can directly, than rather it done through an employee of Hexham Town Council. If there was grievance procedures, there's all sorts of things that could go wrong. Illness, the fact that we're taking somebody on in perpetuity, really, longer than this council, longer than Penny elected or I'm elected, whereas the commitment there for the next 40, 50 years, and that can't be right. Something should be done if we were going to do it to the term of this council. I'm keen on giving you the 15 grand and not nodding it through, but congratulating you on what you do. But who's the best person to deliver that? Grow Hexham is, through their own auspices, answerable to themselves through the town council. But in terms of the town council taking that responsibility, and do we do, job appraisals every year to see how you do it? That's nonsense. The best person to do it is Grow Hexham, and to give that money like we do with every other charity. We don't fund Keith Norman. We don't fund Jill from the community centre or people from Corf. We give them core funding because they're the best person to run it.
Yeah, I mean, the project is amazing. It's in my ward. It goes without saying. What Bex does is absolutely fantastic. The events, I mean, this is absolutely nothing on that. It's amazing, and the work you've done getting it here and the funding you've got. My concern is that the project is becoming staffing, and thanks for the figures, because we did need that last time with the national insurance and their pensions and everything else. I hadn't considered grievance and things like that, because I know David asked about that last time, Councillor Wright, sorry. So it is a kind of case of you're moving from project to staffing, whereas, yes, other things are funded, grant funding and reviewed, and while I think the 15,000 is an absolute bargain, it's amazing, I'd be happier to do an alternative motion, actually, that proposed doing a sort of 3-year structure that takes it just beyond our tenure as councillors into maybe the next one, for them to review, because I don't think it's very fair or democratic to kind of inflict it on the next council. That's a horrible word. I didn't mean to use that word, inflicted. It just means they have no choice, and it means that they get to review it. I think in perpetuity is a worrying ask, but 3 years project, 15,000 a year. I would love to propose that motion That, you know, that to me would be the alternative. With, you know, the democratic scrutiny and the management of that comes with it, reviewed, you know, and all of the stuff that you put into the presentation that I've read, that is marvellous, but I'm worried about making it a long-term commitment for the council, that's all.
So Ray and Tom, so you're speaking last. So Tom?
I have a clearly different view to other members then. I think I'm fully in support of this. I think over the past 5 years it's been proven that the project is worth a lot to the town, and I think we should kind of put our money where our mouth is really and give it that kind of long-term security. I think it's all very well saying I will give them 15k, but then they're in that continual kind of position of having to re-request it and spend a lot of time re-requesting money. I think we should just be kind of let to get on with what they're doing best. And this is about providing, I think, security beyond us for the project. I hear what you're saying in terms of binding for future councils, but past councils have made that decision based on, for other projects, for us to now do. We kind of accept that, and I think we rightfully accept that. Things like the play park, nobody's trying to shirk that responsibility. We take that as part of our remit. The cemetery would take that as part of our remit. And I think this is a very worthwhile and worthy project to be part of that wider remit of kind of what we deem to be permanent work for the town council, and I think we should support that.
Yes, I'd like to agree with that. I mean, it seems so fundamental, reading the paper, so fundamental to so many people, so central to what we're trying to do in Hexham. I see no problem in the council taking responsibility for managing and employing a member of staff to carry it on. And I strongly support the proposal that we employ somebody appointed in the right way. I'm not sure you can just appoint the person who's there. I think there has to be probably a selection process, but we appoint somebody who can report to us and make sure that these fundamental things are continuing into the future.
Okay. Anybody?
It'd be good just with the budget to have a clear idea what's kind of already committed. Just if we can go through, I know something these numbers are the same ones that come to the finance.
In terms of the...
What's a discretionary spend within the council? Because I know we have different grants that we every year.
Because of various factors that have happened this year, we've got a surplus in the staffing budget that could happily accommodate this.
And just thinking, it's a permanent commitment, isn't it? Presumably there's another pay award for the staff for next year, and then the year after, isn't it? So just thinking about the rates for next year, it does kind of create a commitment, doesn't it? Which means that we then have to put taxes up again, above and beyond.
I mean, as it happened with various things that have happened in the council this year.
Do you want me to read those out?
Yeah, if you read them out there.
Yeah, so we had an external review of all the staff, and we put in the budget, because we didn't know how much that was going to cost us, if you like, in terms of what the feedback would be from that. We put a sum of money, which I actually don't have, but a sum of money in to cover that external review. As it happens, the results of that external review actually cost us less than we put in the budget, so that's one reason we've got a surplus. One of the ground workers has chosen to reduce his hours, so that's another one. There's been quite a large reduction in HTC's pension costs for all employees this year. The money that we have to pay NCC for pensions has actually reduced, so that's also added to the surplus. We budgeted for an increase in admin that we haven't used. The appointment scales of the groundsmen, people, is actually costing us less than we thought it would. And also, I've mentioned the salary negotiation that's currently going on nationally with the unions, and I've given you the sort of what we think is probably likely to be, which is 5%, even if that was increased to 10%, which that's what the unions have asked for, but that's not going to happen. The total cost there would only be, so currently if we went for 5% it would be 14,823. If it was worst case scenario and all the staff were awarded 10%, that would mean the Grow Hexham person would be on 15,564, so it's less than £1,000 difference. So, in short, we've over budgeted. So we've got excess money, surplus of money.
And what is the point of just giving the grant to the current, for the current arrangement, or why can't we do that?
Because it doesn't give sustainability to the project. I mean, this person, oh sorry, can I? Yeah. The person who's been doing the job, if you like, the role, well, is absolutely phenomenal for a start. But she's there, really. I mean, she's doing way more than she's paid for. She has no job security at all. It's just not a way to, if you like, effectively employ somebody. You know, she's probably not even on minimum wage because she does extra hours. She has no protection, whereas this is maybe turning her or whoever was to get the post into a proper position, where it's recognised the value really that this has for the town.
I would just come back to Steve's point, which is, we all know people in the town, some people we like, some people we don't like, and we just need to be consistent. And we know the stuff with the community partnership, we'd had a really strong line that it was completely wrong for us to take on any of the staff, even though we wanted to continue on some of the work. And to kind of pick and choose some people that we think we want to bring them in as staff, and that these people we don't like and we don't want to, even though we value in principle the work that's been done. I think that's a difficult precedent to set. I don't think the town council should be picking and choosing people like that. And there's obviously the employment issues that have just been raised about, if you're bringing it in-house, do you then have to go out to open market to advertise for it?
Well, I think, does anybody else want to speak on this?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think the sort of 3 year, you know how we give well, we have the option for 3 year funding bodies that gives that bit more security, which would take it to the end of the term for review, and I think that's when our climate policy comes up for review anyway, 2030, so it would hit about the same time that we're reviewing everything at the same time and having the accountability and feedback, and it would give her that security. I mean, I have no bones about it, clearly you've done the math and that's brilliant, and we have this surplus. My other concern had been about office staff and equivalents in Ashington and Blythe, where we have more in-house office staff to do the processing of the funerals and the events and the books for things like that, as well as the minutes of the meeting. I think it's a heavy workload for one clerk, and I think I would quite like to see staffing in the office as well. But then this is an extra grounds person, if it could be classed that way. I can completely see it to the other side as well, that would balance the piece of person who's reduced the hours. But to my mind, it's that democratic locking in of what was a project into staffing, and it's that transition that doesn't sit entirely well with me, I'm afraid. So.
Right. So I'm just going to stop here. Right. So Suzanne, you mentioned before that you were wanting to put an amendment to this vote. Is that to this proposal? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, an alternative, which is a 3 year kind of grant funding.
Okay. So could you just explain what that is?
Yeah.
So what happens now, councillors, is a motion's been put forward and it's been appropriately seconded and there's been a debate. The right of the process is that somebody can put an amendment in, which is what Suzanne's doing that. If she wants to do that, she would need a seconder, and then there'll be a vote on that amendment. If that fails, we then go back to the original motion.
So can I just ask a procedural
question?
So I have proposed this, but I have not had any opportunity to counter some of the things that I've said that I regard as being incorrect. But we're going to a proposal to change my motion on the basis of what I regard as misinformation. And that I find that problematic. So as the proposer, I have had less floor time in terms of conversation than anybody else in the room. So I laid out my arguments, but that doesn't mean that I've had any opportunity to say that this is not the case. You know, this is a procedural question, because I obviously feel strongly about this, but I feel like this document, I don't know if you've all read this document, I do hope you have, because it seems to me incontrovertible that this project has to be funded properly, because this person uses their own car, pays their own pension contributions, and works as a freelancer. Some people would question the validity of that in terms of employment law on the long term, and I've been reading about that. So that's one question, is that if somebody's doing a consistent job, and there was a ruling around Uber drivers. So first of all, when we came into office, some of us 5 years ago, we became real living wage employers. And it was so important to us that we were proper employers, really in integrity, that we valued our workforce. We value our grounds people. This is a classic case of us not doing this because the law allows us to play fast and loose with somebody else's income stream. And the benefits of this are absolutely huge. And I think all the money, I don't want this to be a choice, but all the money that we spent on all sorts of things, and what we're asking for is £15,000. And the fact that it is a permanent member of staff is critical, because we should be saying that we want to ensure the future of this project past us. And if another council is elected that doesn't like it, they can make her redundant. That's their choice. We inherited somebody back in the day where we chose to do that. So we're not chained to this job, that we've created. We're not chained to the project. But what we're doing is making sure that it is secure. And I do hope you've read this report. It took a long time to write. It absolutely is incontrovertibly the best project that we do. And in terms of all our policies, all our principles, and I just, the fact that we're balking at £15,000 a year for somebody's livelihood that yields such benefits, because it might be a permanent post. If we stop burying people tomorrow, we'd make all the grounds people redundant. That's what we would choose to do. I'm not saying that's going to happen. This isn't, I just find it extraordinary, really. The figures have been done in terms of how, there are pay awards. The costs have been bottomed. There's nothing else that we can do in order to demonstrate, other than to give you a full history of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beneficiaries that have gone over the last 5 years. Funding bodies are willing to have been willing to fund us. But we have this opportunity. This should be our legacy. People are always going to need food. The climate is absolutely, climate disturbance is huge. We need to become more resilient. This is spoken about. I'm sorry, but that's my concluding remarks.
Stop. Will you accept a point of information? We talked about procedure. Can I ask you a point of information? The argument that's coming back is not about the 15,000. It's about protecting the town council going forward. It's not about Grow Hexham. It's about what's best for the town council. And what's been suggested here, and it hasn't been contrived beforehand or anything, is that there's a 3-year guarantee of monies. Your £15,000. It's just the principle of how we pay you. It's not about the principle.
It's about security.
Right. Stop. That's fine. No, that's fine. So Penny, you spoke about process, but then you went into your full. Which is fine, and it's probably wise for you to do that. I mean, actually it was. However, to go back to process. So Suzanne, you are moving an amendment.
Yes.
And your amendment is, could you give us the
I
wording of
commend
it?
Penny's passion first, because it's really nothing to do with that. This is just good governance of public money. So that's all it is. It sounds cold and horrible, I know, and I know I've lost the purpose. Where's it gone? Right. So I propose that we support this project wholeheartedly. I think it's absolute value for money, and give a bit of long-term security in the 3-year grant, so that Hexham Town Council approves an allocation of £15,000 per year for a maximum fixed-term period of 3 years to establish a part-time Grow Hexham coordinator role, as your report, pages 1 and 9. The contract explicitly structured to conclude at the end of the current town council term in 2029. I mean, there is room that it could overlap, but yes, I'll keep it at that. So I propose that this motion is a kind of a financially prudent alternative to a permanent position requested in the Grow Hexham business case. This counter proposal recommends appointing a part-time coordinator on a fixed-term contract for 3 years, directly aligning the role with the remaining lifespan and democratic mandate of the current town council administration. So the benefits would be democratic accountability by setting the contract to expire at the end of the council term and do not show be legally or financially binding for the next administration. The incoming council in 2029 will have complete democratic freedom to review, renew or dissolve the position based on its performance. And it caps the financial commitment for now to 45,000 over the 3 years, and hopefully builds a case for sort of self-sufficiency in the future. If if that review shows how successful it is, then possibly it could be funded again.
Okay, right. And is there a seconder? So there is a seconder. Okay, so that means because there's a seconder, that means that that motion is now on the table. So the amendment is on the table. So we will now go to the vote on that motion. Who is in favour of the motion just provided by Suzanne? Those in favour? 3. Those against? 6. So that fails. So we now go back to the original motion is substantive. Penny, is there anything in addition you want to add to what you were impassioned?
I would just like to say, and I've said this before, but I think there's a way of turning things around really. I think this is the moment when we have to really show our commitment. We've shown lots of commitment through lots and lots of projects. And I would hope that when I'm dead, this project is still going on, that it is not dependent on me, and it's not dependent on the good offices of a disparate group of people who may have absolutely no understanding of the project. There's an election there, we're all, we either don't stand, we're all defeated, and people come in and go, oh well, what's that, and cut it. I think that if we believe in what Grow Hexham is, we have got to make this a permanent part-time job for all the reasons that I've outlined. Thank you.
Okay, right. So
can I just get clarification? I need clarification what I voted for, that's all.
No, so what we are voting for now is the motion that Penny put forward, which is the permanent, that'd be £15,000 for that permanent employee.
To establish and employ a post.
Yes.
£50,000.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we're now going to the vote on that. Those in favour of the motion. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And against? 1, 8 to 1. So that's now carried and right, good. But it is democracy, everybody. No, we're all right, we're all got different views. Accepted.
So that's a debate. That's a sensible,
Absolutely.
Can I just say that John had sent a supportive comment to read out that we have, but obviously it hasn't been needed. But I just wanted to make sure that people knew that John sent that because he's
I'm clear around the conflict of interest of the way.
Right, to receive, number 10, to receive an update on the Hexham's potential development sites. Hexham Middle School, any thoughts on that?
They've announced that in the press that it's open to turn again, so it's all ready to go. And
It's not, it's the 1st of September. It's the 1st of September. I'm wondering whether we need to continue this conversation about why the historic buildings, plural, have been put in the outline tender.
as opposed to what they were in strategic planning.
Yeah, but that whole idea that Fellside is then is going out for tender in the whole document. I think we need to keep asking that question at the County Council.
Yeah, well, I had a chat with Sarah McMillan about the site the other day, and the progress that she's made with Alex and the team, and that's very much what they want to do, I know. But yes, when I pushed them on the fact that it wasn't included in the initial strategic plan, which obviously I spoke against, and and why it's suddenly been included. They argued that I think it was going to be hard to dispose of with it on site, but it was an outline plan, so whether they're not
I think we should keep asking, because basically what we don't want is for the development of Fellside as a community resource to be dependent on the good offices of a developer, because as we know they are entirely unreliable.
Can I did ask that question about why it wasn't included on the outline plan commission, and apparently you can't include, this is what I was told, you can't include a listed building on outline plan commission.
Correct.
That's what I was told.
You also shouldn't be having an outline planning commission in conservation area.
That can be done. That's why there was the line apparently down Fellside.
We could keep pushing that.
Yeah, I know, I did have that conversation.
Yeah, let's keep doing it.
Okay, all bus stations, don't think we've had anything new on that. Toilets?
We have had an update on the toilets because there's been a number of complaints about various toilets. I had a response from NCC officers saying that they were still under review and no budget had been formally identified as of yet. They'll let us know when it is.
West Road site, any news on that one? Nothing on that. Police houses, works just continues on those at a pace. Roofs are being replaced as we speak, and normally what you do in building is you get the roofs replaced and then you can get to the innards, so works continue on that, so that's positive. The union workhouses, any?
I chased up Rob Murphy on that, trying to invite some action from NCC about the urban access, and it's on various kind of like Urban Explorer websites, so we've got a lot of like unrestricted access to the building at the minute, to try and press the receivers to dispose of the site proactively, because there is interested parties, but they seem to be entertaining unrealistic beliefs about the value of the site.
The shambles, at the last Hexham Hub we pushed again. I've become a bit tired that they haven't as yet, even though they've marked the flooring, the car parking area for it to be parallel as opposed to being vertical into the shambles where all the accidents take place, and the people shunting the shambles building. That still hasn't taken place. Now, this is like a year late now, which I'm not very impressed by. But the discussion ended up leading to County Council saying that they were wanting to put various contemporary signage, which would be no entry signs, etc., to even though there's a common understanding that you enter by the bottom and come out opposite the Abbey. They feel as though that needed to be some signage in place, and we did ask for anything like that to be sympathetic, and then Lord, don't you know, just a couple of days later, I don't think attached to the shambles thing, but they ended up putting two very unsympathetic no entry signs onto 4th Street, which so Roger's gone back to them. I have, so Roger's a lot more polite than I am. Roger's gone back. I've supported Roger with as the word sympathetic, but I was thinking more like pathetic, to be honest. There we go. Cycle path.
Yes. So there was obviously a bit of panic about the 12-month closure, but that's the standard. The work in Hexham is nearing completion. They have 8 to 9 days of overnight closures that I tried to pin them on at the buses drop-in that we did 2 weeks ago, because what's not tied in is those overnight closures can be fairly random, and it means that the bus services are going to be disrupted. So that's Stagecoach, primarily 685. So I've hooked Stagecoach into a conversation with the cycling team to get those dates nailed down, because if they have the dates nailed down, they can easily divert the buses and move the bus stop points for those specific nights. So that is being discussed at the moment, so that does need to happen, because residents have been really concerned about that. And there have also been some concerns about the temporary curbing at the hospital and the pavement for disabled access especially. That, I don't know why, there's obviously been a delay with the dropped curbing coming in, so they're waiting on the dropped curbing, so it's placeholding that sign. So ask for extra signs to go up to warn residents that is an issue at the moment, and we're very much hoping that will be rectified soon with the dropped curbs that are meant to go.
Good.
So update.
Good. Railway buildings.
We've had an email. So the council was supposed to go in having a walkabout of the water tower and other assets at the train station with Councillor Higgins last week. It didn't happen because unfortunately the roof of the water tower has been declared unsafe and is undergoing repairs. A visit will be arranged once the site is safe. Trico are keen to work with NCC towards an asset transfer of the water tower, sheds and cottages.
So that includes the trees out on top of there as well. Do we get those ones? Awesome.
Well, number of things.
Yeah.
But it needs to be, there's a way,
West End Methodist?
nothing
Really, about the house, there wasn't a house. You spoke about the house attached to it.
Well, the whole patch of land is that and the church and the church hall. So I think the disposal isn't as straightforward as the originally.
No, it was never going to be that one. Rob's Beals site, any Yorkshire Trail, nothing on that one. Abbey House, any?
Actually, can I ask for clarification on that, because that's on our list all the time, and I don't know what we're referring to, because is it not owned by Yorkshire Trade?
Yorkshire Trade.
So why is it on our list?
As in, well, it's just because it's like derelict.
But are we actually doing it, potentially doing it about it?
Hexham Hope speaks to them.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But we're not getting anywhere any further. Abbey House, any news on that one? And Hexham Civic Space.
It's on the agenda for discussion at the next FGP.
Yeah. Okay, right, good. There's announcements. I'll be short about I attended a little event at the Adapt building, Adapt Hope down at Loch Lane. That was quite nice. Obviously, we had a huge delivery of the biggest project we've ever delivered, the Sele Park, which went superbly well. It's been hugely busy. It's all good. We had our Mexican guests, so thanks to Councillor Suzanne Fairs-Aiken and Councillor Neil Park, who did all the attendance with the guests from the Town Council's side. We have, yes, and Councillor Grennan, who played music. In a fashion.
Welcome.
Yes,
thanks.
yes, I do apologise.
Yes, thank you very much.
So moving into sort of the forward look. Yes, the bluegrass. the bluegrass is going to be on the 25th, 26th, 27th.
Yes.
Of August.
Yes.
No, July. Sorry, it's July. So that's 2 weeks.
So it's the last
So I need a
weekend in
poster
July.
from you, Mrs. I'm still asked for 14.
The poster. Oh, it was you.
Right.
Yes, sorry. Yes, so we'll put out on social media again. It's a great lineup, lots of workshops, lots of events throughout the town, lots of people. I'll be writing to the independent businesses and going around the businesses telling them to buy more milk. I've talked to the farmers market already about the fact there is a farmers market that weekend, so they can expect more customers. So yes, it's all good, and there's going to be an article in the Crown soon.
Good. So that's yes, it is. Last.
Could I just mention that the People's Briefing film that our council is supporting on the 30th of July, which is at the Forum Cinema, and it's free. It's well worth a watch. It's an easy watch, but very informative. 50 minutes, you get all the facts. No politics.
Right, number 12, accounts for payment.
Can you accept my apologies, Chair?
Very good, sir. Thank you. Accounts for payment. So we've got the bank reconciliation. First of all, pay with that. Sorry?
On payments, what? Those dispute payments to the Scribe subscription that are exactly the same price as it would be.
It's just if two payments fall in the same month, it's fine.
So the listings of the payments in each code, so the cost centre, so there's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and then the summary of receipts and payments. Page 1, 2, 3. No?
Yeah.
Good. That's fine. Okay, there.
Can I just ask a matter of information? There was the town council stuck together on this about the lease on the bus, and well, sorry, not the lease on the bus, the actual contract on the van that the ground staff had.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was really important that a lot of us got elected on the basis of open Hexham or being transparent, and I think it should be recorded somewhere at full council meeting, the outcome of what was happening, and it should be for, you know, open knowledge rather than letting.
Do you want to do the explanation?
Yeah, so the council replaced its van with an electric van. We bought it from a main dealer. After we'd had it for a while, we were chased by a finance company saying that the finance hadn't been paid off by the dealer that we bought it from. Upon looking at the credit referencing agency, it didn't appear to have any finance attributed to it, but the finance company were quite insistent and wouldn't take our good title to the vehicle. In the end, we had to commission a solicitor to write to the finance company and explain the situation and state our case. Subsequently, the finance company returned and acknowledged that we had good title to the vehicle, and they're no longer pursuing their claim.
Good. Can that be recorded? Just for...
Yeah. And it would be in the F&GP anyway.
It would have been. I think it's worth doing.
No, that's fine.
I'll put it under the questions on the finance.
Yeah. Right, so 13 to note the approved minutes. F&GP on the 20th of May, page 1, page 2. Minutes of the planning infrastructure, page 1, 2, 3 and 4. Minutes of the community engagement committee, page 1, 2. Go. And to note any correspondence received, number 14.
We've got the normal milk can, Northumberland CBA rural bulletin. In addition, we've had some communication around from the police about CCTV, just looking at better methods for informing them of incidents identified on the CCTV. So that's something that we'll look to have a chat with the inspector when she's next available.
Do you want to tell them what really happened? So listen to this.
Well, there is a bit of an issue because the CCTV is a bit more capable than we thought it was, because it can pick up anything that's happening in the
even before they've been collected.
So it can pick up anything in the play park, but it can also swing round and look over parts of the seal as well. So there was some incidents of underage drinking on the Sele last week, which wasn't necessarily to be unexpected, but the monitoring station would report that under 101 just so that the police were aware. But reporting it under 101, they were on hold for an hour and 42 minutes.
Without an answer?
Without an answer. So, I think there needs to be a...
Well, then they sent an email, remember?
They sent an email.
They sent an email on the Friday, and the police said, I picked it up on the Monday, said, oh, we don't pick them up over the weekend.
And you're paying for monitoring?
So the monitoring's going well, but it's just the police.
Yes, so we need a better way of communicating with the local police who are on duty. So if we can make that happen, that'll be make the CCTV.
So the community police were in and around Hexham, but the police. So they didn't know about it. So the message had been sent to the police. The police don't look at the email. The community police are. Where's the link? Is?
I'm sure it's not beyond the.
Can't we just get it down to the community police officers?
that may well be the outcome, Simon. I don't. We'll have to wait.
We'll have to get terrorist
No, that's everybody always exactly. I should have picked that up actually over the new year, over the holidays. I will. But I also say to everybody is use Facebook 101 when you're reporting because you'll answer dead quick. A policeman told me that a few months ago. That was just like, and I tried and it did. I got off with that. Anyway, there we go. Right, good. Thank you everybody. Good debate.